Hi, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today I wanted to bring you one of my last videos for like goals for the next year. So like I shared in my Cook With Me video where I went over my goals for 2019, one of the things I want to do is I want to annotate and think more critically about a few books. And I want to start that with the books that I'm going to reread next year. So one of the things I did this year is I just plowed through a bunch of brand new books. Anything anyone was suggesting to me that looked interesting, I put it on my TBR, I gave it a try, and it was amazing. I've read about 120 books this year. Probably will get a little bit over that in the next 3 weeks or so. But one of the things I used to do a lot in high school is I would find a favorite book and then I would read it like 2 or 3 times and I would have a really good grips of it. And when a new book was coming out in a series, I would reread the old books from it and I would just have such a good time like picking out new parts of it because I'm a very fast reader. And that means I'm not always very detail-oriented with the stories I read. Like, there's countless times where a friend or my sister is reading a book and they'll be like, oh, what about this scene? And I'll be like, I remember that they fought this big battle, but I don't remember the little scene you're talking about. Or like I'll miss something because I get the whole idea of the book, but I don't always pick up the little things. So one of the things I want to do this year is I want to do some rereads of some books that were my favorite, either of all time or books that I want to start annotating and really pinpoint my feelings about it. Sorry, I have my pen out because I have my list right in front of me and I feel cool with my pen. I'll put that down. So I have these, I think there's 7 series / one of them is just a single book that I'm planning to reread. And if there are any of these that you would like to reread with me, please let me know, or if it'll be the first time through for you, because I would love to buddy read them with you if it's something that you'd be interested in. I don't have it planned out when I'm going to do that yet. I actually ordered a reading planning journal. Super cute. It's supposed to get here any day. So I'm kind of going to spread out through the year when I'm going to be doing these. But one of the series, and I'll tell you which one, I'm going to be starting it in January with my friend. So I am super excited to do that. So here we go. I'm just going to dive in. And I didn't drag all these books off my shelves, so I'll just put a picture of them up here, and I'll also link down below which ones. So here we go. The first series that I want to reread is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. I started reading this series when I was in 8th grade, which is like 12 years ago now. I know I'm not old, but that series did come out when I was in 8th grade. I think the first book came out in like 2004 or 5. And I love this series. And I've been told that for some people upon rereads, they can see how simple the system is and how it borrows from a lot of other things. But it will always come back to the fact for me that a 15-year-old kid started this series, and not only did he start it, he was able to complete it. And I just think that is fascinating. It was my dream at that age to be able to write a series like that. And I loved it. I loved Aragon, no matter what a basic bitch he is. Like, let's just be real, Aragon, he's a basic bitch. But he was awesome, and I feel that he really did struggle with things, and he had to work for things. And I love that about him. Like, not everything was just happening to him. He wasn't a Gary Stu or a Mary Stu. Like, he had to work. And I love his connection with Saphira. If you've been around my channel before, you know one of my favorite things in books is animal companions. I wouldn't consider Saphira quite an animal because she is sentient. But I love it. Any book with dragons as well, I am in it. I am there. So that is the first thing I want to reread. The next, I'm going to be reading this with one of my best friends. We are going to be rereading Outlander, which this series isn't completed yet, but the TV show is on, and I watch it with a few of my friends, and one of my friends, I kind of challenged her. I asked if she would like to read the books as well, because she's always wondering what is missing from the TV shows that she's not getting, and I'm like, girl, those books are so great. You get to spend so much time with the characters because there's thousands and thousands of pages. And so we're going to take that on. That might not all get done in 1 year because my friend isn't as fast of a reader as me, and I'm going to be going at her pace. So that might not be a series that you want to read with me, but I would love to talk to you about it at any time. Any of you want, hit me up. I will talk Jamie and Claire or Brianna and Roger or Eion and his wife with you anytime, any day. Let's talk. Let's do it. But that I'm going to be rereading, and that is an 8-book series. Oh, I was going to tell you this. The Inheritance Cycle is 4 books. Currently in Outlander, there's 8 books out. The 9th one will possibly be out sometime in the beginning of 2020. I believe that's what Diana said. But she takes her time because she puts out really good content. So that's fine with me. The next series I want to read, which is an 8-book series, and that is the Bridgerton Family series by Julia Quinn. This is a romance series. It is, I was reading historical romance before this, but I picked up this series probably my senior year of high school, maybe, and I loved it. I got all the books from the thrift store. I still have the original copies that I bought then. There's new covers that came out, and I can't decide if I want them or not, but I actually accidentally got the first book and the last book when I went to the thrift store. So I read the first book, and then I realized that the other one I had was the last book. So I had the first and the last. And I was like, oh no, this was like the first time that had ever happened to me where I hadn't bought them in order because I was in a hurry. And so I had to go to 3 other thrift stores in my town to find the other 6 in the middle. But it was awesome. So just a little background, because these other 2 series you've probably heard of, but this one is about this family that there's 8 kids and they're all named alphabetically. So it's Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne, Eloisa, Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth. Whew! That's awesome that I did that. And they have this mother named Violet, and their father has died when they were young, and it's about each of them finding their partners. It's very hetero, I don't care, but it's Regency romance, and it is awesome, and I love it. The first one is about Daphne, which is, the 4th one in line, but then they kind of go alphabetical after that. But it's so good. Julia Quinn is my favorite Regency romance author. Favorite historical romance author. Me and my sister and a few of my friends, she is our favorite. We read every book she has ever written. I highly suggest her if you like historical romance. Her books are funny. They have a little bit of Jane Austen in them. They have lots of humor, and they're adorable. So anyway, I plan to reread that because it's been a few years, and I know they're books that I will really like, so that's kind of going to be my filler books next year. Although I'll probably get on a kick and read them all in 1 month because I have no self-control and I'll just want to keep reading, but I love them so much. Anyway, so there's 8 of those. Next, I want to reread the Hunger Games trilogy, and this one for sure, I'm looking for anyone who wants to reread with me. A few vlogs back, you'll see I got these beautiful 10th anniversary covers. Gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous. And with the Hunger Games specifically, I really would like to annotate and commentate on those. So I want to reread those. It's been a long time. I'm sure that it'll be a little more basic to me now because I've read many, many more dystopian novels. The Hunger Games was definitely my gateway drug. I had never read a dystopian YA before. It didn't interest me, didn't have any clue what I was missing, and so they're kind of like the OG for me anyway, and I don't care if they maybe haven't aged as well. I still plan to reread those. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Again, I don't know when the plan is for them yet, so I hopefully will, once I get my planner, know when I'm going to be starting these rereads. But if you're interested, hit me up. Next, and I mentioned this one in my reading goals, I want to read more classics next year, and I think that will be better because I'm in Murphy's Patreon club, so we're going to be reading classics every month. So I said I wanted to read 12 classics, so for sure I'll be reading them with her, but I want to reread Jane Eyre and annotate it, so that is a book that I for sure plan to reread. Something just floated through my background and creeped me the crap out. So I plan to reread Jane Eyre. It's my favorite classic. I know that it still will be, but I would like to annotate one of the copies that I have and just put all my favorite notes in it. So I'm really excited about that because I got a new copy of that as well. So I'm going to reread Jane Eyre. And then finally, this is a middle grade series, and the movie is coming out next year, and it was one of my favorite series when I was a kid. I actually read it before I read any of these other books, And then the series continued on and I kind of outgrew it. So in waiting for the next book to come out, I kind of like fell away. That is the Artemis Fowl series. There are now 8 books in the series. I've read the first 5 of them. And I love this series. I loved Artemis and Holly and Butler and Juliet. And I just love the adventures they would get into. This is kind of it's kind of hard to explain. It's like fairies exist. But they're not the kind of fairies that you think they are. And fairy basically means any kind of magical creature is considered fairy, and then you fit into a different category within fairy. And Artemis figures out that they do live, and he decides to rob them. And Artemis starts as only like a 13-year-old, I think. Maybe he's even younger. But he tries to rob them. And things ensue from there. Like, I won't spoil anything else. But I have all the books now. I just have wanted to start from the beginning again because I didn't remember everything that happened. And then because the movie was coming out, I thought this would be perfect. I hope the movie's really cute and good. But yeah, I don't usually read middle grade. It's funny because my favorite book of all time is a middle grade. East by Edith Batow. Plug for my favorite book. A couple of my friends are going to read that, and I can't wait for them to fall in love with it like I do. It's a great Christmas read. Anyway, but I just don't usually get into middle grade. I like romance, so generally you need the people to be a little bit older before romance is a central plot. Romance is kind of what makes my world go round in books. Like, books without romance, the plot has to be really good for me to stay in. Whereas some people, the plot has to be good and the romance can be so-so, but not for me. I need my lovebirds to exist. So anyway, this is a total of 32 books that I have on my list. So that makes up 32 of my 120 as a goal anyway, if I can stick to this. So yeah, anyway, if you liked any of these that I said, if you haven't read them or want to reread them with me, let me know. I'll make a list of who's interested. And then once I make a plan of when I'm going to start them, we could set something up. I would love to read them with you, especially since they're rereads. It's easier for me to buddy read them because then I can take my time. Whereas if I'm reading it for the first time with someone, I usually am going to just read the whole thing and I don't have time to buddy read. So anyway, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. I put up new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks so much, friends. Bye.